Mike? No, I would put it on, but then I heard you. So yeah, we got some things to talk about today. Jeremy Sochan out with the fractured thumb. Just announced that Wemby's top 4 in blocks in the NBA right now.
Nice.
Tony Dallas. What's up, Tony Dallas? Thanks for joining, man. Let's make this show great again, is what he says. Well, the good thing is we don't have to listen to no political ads for quite some time.
That's true.
Just missed the Quache, Mike. There he is right there, just for you. July 26th. JHNSB. I'm feeling great this morning. Good for you, man. Good morning, man. Good morning, Sam Salinas. They have the college football projected lineups as far as what they're thinking might happen.
Oh, yeah.
So they just released that as well. Talk about that.
It's kind of hot in here, dude.
Is it? Are you hot?
Oh, you know what? The fan's not on. That's what it is. Man, the Saints were sellers yesterday. Marshawn Lattimore, gone.
Yeah.
4-time Pro Bowler.
Sam Salinas. It's a fine, fine morning. Tony Nellis. I'm feeling great and sleepy. Sam Salinas, I couldn't sleep last night. You're waiting for the election polls to reveal the results.
Yeah.
It didn't come through until the wee hours of the morning, man.
Welcome to another episode of the Alamo City Sportscast with Mike Jimenez and Joe Garcia. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Join the discussion as we broadcast live from beautiful West San Antonio. And remember to tip your hosts as it helps the show grow.
What's up, San Antonio? What's going on, South Texas? This is the Alamo City Sportscast coming at you from the west side of San Antonio. That is Joe Garcia. My name's Mike Jimenez. We're going to go for about an hour 15, hour and a half today. You know what, Joe? I called it. I had someone reach out to me yesterday saying, Jimenez, I cannot believe you called the election. I didn't say he was going to win. I didn't say it was going to be Harris. I didn't say it was going to be Trump. What I did say was that it was going to be a landslide either way, that somebody was winning big. I had a hard time believing that it was going to be like 50-50, go on for 3 or 4 weeks. I was like, no, someone's going to win that election that night. And you could tell by 7 p.m. the direction it was going to go in, right? So,
I mean, the way that things happen is that usually you'll get the little surrounding rural votes first, from the rural voters, because they finish their polling first, and then you get everything else, and it kind of like you'll get a gauge of what's going to happen, later on in the evening. But
it's a new day. It's a new day. The fact of the matter is that it's a new day. We're all alive. We're all Americans. Let's just be good. Let's be nice to each other. Okay. Let's just keep it at that. Keep it at that. People were not nice to me yesterday on Twitter. There's this one lady who went after me. Apparently she didn't like the fact that I said, I hope Pop is okay. She's like, well, you were talking trash about him. I'm going to unfollow you. And I'm like, the hell are you talking about? That's what I think she said, quote, that's what you get for talking shit. I'm like, okay, I talk shit and all of a sudden Pop has a health issue and I'm to blame for this? What the hell is that all about?
It's like the day after an election. They got to find someone to blame for whatever goes wrong,
Yeah. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can be part of the show by going on to our YouTube stream and leaving a comment or two. Do I see a super chat already in?
Yeah, we got a super chat coming in.
You can bless this podcast by giving us a super chat, buying us a coffee, buying us a beer, whatever the case may be. It keeps the lights on here at Joe's Place. But a $20 super chat
coming in, man.
Saying U.S., USA, U.S., USA, America, baby. America. Thank you for letting it rain.
America.
That right there is capitalism right there. That is capitalism. Spending your hard-earned money on the things that you like. And you know what? Here's the thing, Joe. no matter if you're a left wing guy or a right wing guy, we're still the country that people want to go to anyway, right? Like, you hear the first world problems. Our first world problems, don't get me wrong, there are real problems out there. But there are other parts of the world. Dude, there are other states in this country that I don't want to go into. I drive to Louisiana to go visit my daughter. The second I cross Orange, Texas, and I make my way to Louisiana, I'm like, ew, gross. It's the same way that I go when I go from Brownsville to Matamoros or Laredo and to Nuevo Laredo or Piedras Negras and Juarez and all that stuff. You cross that line in the sand, and it's like, ew, gross. So you know what? At the end of the day, the birds are chirping. We are Americans. USA, USA. Big show today. We're going to be talking about the Spurs a lot because we have Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5 joining us at 10:15. We need to talk about Pop. Have we seen the last of Gregg Popovich? I'm not going to go ahead and say that I know anything of the know. We all have our insiders and stuff like that, and I'm not going to reveal anything that I know. But I'm just saying that it's very possible we've seen the last of him. I posed the question yesterday on Twitter. Why is it that local media reported one thing and Shams Charania of ESPN reported something else? And people were like, no, Jimenez, they reported the exact same thing. And I was like, no, the wording was different. Like, what did we hear from Tom Worsborn and Don Harris of News 4 San Antonio? Tom Worsborn of the Express News. Wasn't that big of a deal. He's just out there getting rest. What did we hear from Shams Charania of ESPN?
It was serious.
It was a serious deal. And remember when we first got the breaking news on Monday, I told you, I said, I don't like how he worded the tweet.
Definitely.
He said indefinitely. He used the word serious. He used the word health issue, not an illness issue. And people were all over me on Twitter yesterday going, he managed to report the same thing. You're just making stuff up. What are you talking about? I said from the get-go, Joe, that I thought that it was a little bit odd the way that it was worded. You agreed. Joe, you're like,
indefinitely.
And then the word indefinitely. Because had it been a minor thing, it would have been, he's going to be back in the next week or two because, you know, he has COVID. He has the flu. He has a small bout of pneumonia.
Think of the word indefinitely and what it means. Like during the time of Kawhi, right?
Right.
If the Spurs would have just come out and said, he's going to be out indefinitely, that would have told you he's not coming back for a while.
Right. Okay. So for example, Devin Vassell, we knew from the very beginning that Devin Vassell, who had a foot injury, required surgery, did not heal properly. We heard on Media Day a few weeks ago that he was going to be missing the first part of the season and that he'd be reevaluated the first week of November and return to practice. They gave a timetable. They said, you know, there you go. Dak Prescott going on injured reserve. He's going to be out a minimum of 4 weeks. They're saying 4 to 5 weeks, right? You're given a time frame there. But when you hear indefinitely, we think of Kawhi Leonard. That's a very good point, Joe. Because Kawhi Leonard is out not 2 weeks, 3 weeks. He's out indefinitely.
Indefinitely, meaning he ain't coming back.
He ain't coming back. So when you hear Pop is out indefinitely, that perked my ears up, Joe. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just read between the lines, and a lot of people don't get that, Joe. And they read. Here's the thing, Joe. They will read what Don Harris has to say, or what Tom Worsborn, Maya say, all that, and then they'll read Shams, and they compute it the exact same way that they're saying the exact same thing, like it's Pepsi and Coke. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, we have an incoming super chat from the Drew Show too,
and I'm like, I don't see it the same way, Joe. I read it differently.
Yeah,
and that doesn't make me dumb or weird. No, I read it the way that it should have been read. Drew Show, thank you so much for blessing the show. $5 super chat saying Wemby is going to have to play inside now that Sochan is out. I say move Keldon to the starting lineup and play small ball power forward and hashtag with a pray emoji. I made a joke yesterday, Joe, that because of Sochan's injury that, we should maybe fire up the engines to Team Tank. And of course, James Pledger from San Antonio Sports Star, along with our good friend John Dyer, reach out and say, Jimenez, you're flip-flopping. Spernandez called me a flip-flopper. They're like, just because Sochan's out. Well, you know what? Guess who the best player on this team was this past 6-7 games, Joe.
Sochan.
It was
man.
Sochan, right? And I'm not saying that is a good thing. That's probably a bad thing, Joe. It's probably a bad thing that your best player on the team is Sochan when offensively he's inept.
Yeah.
But 5 feet and inside, been balling.
Yeah, he has, man.
And he hustles. He's bringing the intensity. He's growing on me. It's kind of like the first episode of the TV show Community when Jeff Winger looks over at Abed and says, I now see your value. I see your value now.
Yeah.
Because Abed could get him girls, right?
Yeah.
He could get intel. I see Sochan's value now, but his value is not chunking up 3-pointers. His value is not being a point guard. It's being a pest and being a defensive-minded player.
Yeah.
Broke his thumb. Out 2
Broke
months.
his thumb against the Clippers, man. 12 minutes into the game. We do got a 199 super chat coming in from Tex-Mex Frank. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. Buenos
supporting the
dias, he
show.
says. We win. Still have puro pinche Cowboys. Do you really?
And look at this, Donny Ornelas. Guys, it's local media sugarcoating Pop's illness.
No, do you know what I think it is? I think that the local media have no sources.
There's really not much coming out right now other than he has a serious, illness. He's going to be out indefinitely. That's pretty much what they've said from the get-go.
Here is who knows everything,
Yeah.
Joe. ESPN and TMZ. If ESPN's reporting it and TMZ's reporting it, I believe it. I remember back in the day, Joe, the TMZ was like the National Enquirer. You don't believe anything that they say. And then now TMZ right now is legit. They have everything, man. They're the ones who first reported Diddy, punching and kicking his girlfriend in that hotel back in the day.
Yeah.
Had the video and everything.
Look at what this is. An interesting comment here from Black Bucket. Name I haven't seen before.
Welcome
Thank
to the
you
show, by the way.
for coming, and giving us some of your time in the chat there. And it says the local media gets spin from the franchise. Sham has inside sources, very different.
And it's those inside sources that revealed what is actually going on. The Spurs have not revealed. I've heard from the Wind from a couple of people that have told me what they said happened. And I believe what they said happened. Okay. Is it a life or death situation? What I've been told is that it's not life or death.
It's just serious.
It's serious, but serious enough where we may have seen the last of Gregg Popovich. Okay. Not because he's going to die, right? I'm not envisioning there being a funeral 3 weeks from now, but from what I've been told by multiple people, that's a serious issue. But because I have no clarification, I'm getting it hearsay. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
It's not my job or Joe's job to throw things out into the wind when it's just hearsay.
Yeah. Got another $2 super chat from the Drew Show. He says, update the meter. It's November.
Yeah, I gotta zero out the balances. You gotta zero out the balances right there. But here's the thing, man. Sochan being out is a big deal because he's the only one in the starting five that brings fire on a daily basis. Don't get me wrong. We see Wemby go out there and ball out every other game. We see Chris Paul look decent offensively every other game. Harrison Barnes every other game. I would say that you get 2 up games and 1 down game from Julian Champagnie. That one I might sign an apology form for later on in this season. But the Spurs are back in action tonight. They're on the road, down the road in I-10, taking on the Houston Rockets. Rockets favored to win that game. They've split the 2 games that they played here at the Frost Bank Center. I'm looking forward to see who's going to be the starting 5.
Yeah,
do you bring Keldon to the starting lineup, as the Drew Show said? Do you start Stephon Castle in this whole situation? Do you play small ball?
I think what they're going to wind up doing is they're going to have to go ahead and play Stephon Castle, and they're going to have Keldon with that second unit because that second unit needs balance, man. And that's what Keldon brings.
Keldon does bring some balance, but I'm looking at that Rockets roster without a Jeremy Sochan.
They're in trouble. They need a defensive presence. And who do you think plays better defense, Keldon or Stephon Castle?
Castle does.
There's your guy.
But here's the problem, Joe, is the size.
I get that, man.
Because Steven Adams, I know he's coming off the bench, 6'11". Dylan Brooks starts, may not bring everything offensively, but he plays bigger than the 6'6" that he is. You take a look at players like Jabari Smith Jr., power forward at 6'10". That guy is big. We saw him up close, Joe. Şengün at 6'11". Jock Landale gets a lot of minutes at 6'11". Jeff Green gets a lot of minutes at 6'8". Amen Thompson, second year player at 6'7". This is a big, tall, bulky team. Terry Eason out of LSU at 6'8". And when I was at the game the other day, and I was blessed enough because of SeatGeek to get good seats down low, you see the size difference between these two teams. You put Keldon, even Stephon Castle, who's 6'6", he's 6'6", but he's not a bulky 6'6". He's a muscular 6'6", but not a bulky one. You see Wemby out there, who might be 7'4", but he's a hieroglyphic. He's super skinny. Even though he's gained 10, 15 pounds of muscle over the year.
Yeah.
You see other players out there, Champagne and whatnot, they don't match up in size.
Yeah.
Spurs,
update real quick.
Yeah.
Jeff said that he's going to be coming on at 10:30.
No problem. Thank you for alerting me.
Yeah.
You see the Spurs go out there, and there's a size difference, and there's an intensity difference. And Sochan was the only one who brought intensity. I fear the Spurs are going to get worked tonight.
Well, we're going to see, man. There's an interesting comment that just came in here, and I kind of liked it, dude. I like what they were saying. Look at July 26th. He says, Sissoko may be called up for defense because that's what Sochan had.
Yeah, but Sissoko is even worse than Sochan when it comes to offense. People are talking about the injuries the Rockets have. Let me go ahead and verify that. Oh, we do have one out. Steven Adams is out with a knee.
But he doesn't really get a lot of run, man.
Yeah, Terry Eason and Dylan Brooks are both listed as questionable. Dylan Brooks has an illness, not an injury. Terry Eason is day-to-day, but should be able to play tonight. So no Steven Adams. But I do expect Dylan Brooks to be out there.
Yeah, but maybe he ate some bad carne asada or something. Dude.
I know, man. If it's San Antonio. Joe, Sochan's injury is a big deal. And it's funny how people are reaching out, Joe, to both of us, and also on our YouTube stream, saying that there's a big flip-flop going on when it comes to my opinion of Sochan. It's not a flip-flop. Pop and now Mitch Johnson using Sochan the way that I wanted him to be used from the first place. So I like this version of Sochan, even though he's out for 2 months. I like this version of Sochan because this is what he should have been doing in the first place. It's an indictment.
Did you hear Michelle's Beatles comment this last
game?
No,
what?
Well, they were playing against the Clippers, right? So now Michelle Beadle can be on because she's part of the FanDuel network, right?
Yeah.
Which now it's not Bally's, it's the FanDuel, right?
Right.
So she was on there and she's like watching Sochan play before he got injured. And she's like, she was kind of funny or interesting. She goes, when the player is playing his natural position, you know how good they can be.
Yeah.
And then Sean Elliott kind of moved it along and kind of tried to downplay that.
Because how dare you question Pop? And that's what I like about Michelle Beadle. And that's the funny thing about it all is that
he shot her down real quick,
He should because he knows where the bread is buttered, right? That's the problem with having just one major franchise in San Antonio is that you kind of have to kiss their ass. And I'm looking, Joe, at that person who had a problem with me yesterday. And I'm thinking to myself, why would somebody have an issue? She goes by Mommy Bear. Quote, this is why you don't talk shit. Be professional. About what? About what? So this is
funny. They came at you and they also came at Elias yesterday as well.
For what?
I don't know. They were kind of getting upset with him, I guess, because of a tweet or something. And they came at him and they made sure to mention his wife and his daughter. I'm just like, why?
I look at it this way, Joe. And you and I have been friends doing this show for over a year.
Yeah.
And you remember my show that I would do with Pledger and Tim Spence back in the day. I go on and said, I have a really good batting average about things. No one wants to hear it. How many people come up to me and say, man, Jimenez, you for example, JHNSB comment right there says, Mike, quote, I called it Jimenez. Damn straight. Is there anybody on podcasting, anybody on a sports talk show, TV, radio, whatever the case may be, that's 100% right? Is Colin Cowherd 100% right? Dan Le Batard, Skip Bayless, Shay. Stephen A. Smith, any of them 100%. Locally, it's Mike Taylor, Rudy J., Rob Thompson, Pledger, Ryan Nagel, Minix. Are they ever 100% right? No. But the question becomes, Joe, do you have a good batting average? You could make an entire show, Joe, about all the bad takes that I've had, that you've had, that anyone's ever had. You can make that real, right? But I think, Joe, that I bat at least 800. Well, Joe, vindicated. Team Tank to get Wemby. Was that vindicated?
Yeah, people wanted a tank.
Well, no, it was a very unpopular thing. People are like, you got to tank at the. Someone told me yesterday on Twitter, no, you can't tank now. You have to tank in February. No, if you tank in February, it's too late. You lose the chances of getting 14% for the number 1 overall pick to get Cooper Flagg. If you want to have that 14% chance, guess when you start tanking, Joe?
No.
Right around now.
Now, oh, look, what we're talking about, going back to like Coach Pop, and then saying that he's going to be out indefinitely. Look at what Sham Shania put up here, and I'm not going to play the audio. I'm just saying, this is something that just was put out there by NBA Central, but this is from a little excerpt of a interview that they were doing with Shams. And look at how they word this. Chris Middleton is still out indefinitely per Sham Shania, right?
Right.
They said the same thing about Coach Pop. And they go on to say he has yet to be cleared for 5-on-5 scrimmage. Team officials have recognized that this thing is taking much longer than they anticipated. What is this telling you? He's going to be out for quite some time, right? That's the phrasing, right? When you say indefinitely,
there's an issue.
Doesn't mean next week. Doesn't mean a couple days from now. It means for quite a while,
And as Sham said, he goes, there's great level of concern around the situation. He says, Sam Salinas reaches out and says, that's why he doesn't have his own sportscast, because he's always right. Is what he says. Because people would say, Sam, I'm tired of you winning too much. No one's 100%, dude. I'm not 100%. But Joe, I'll tell you what, though. Here are some of my bona fides, Joe. Team Tank. Tank for Wemby, right? Get Stephon Castle at number 4. How about this? Don't draft Bryce Young. Don't get that pick. Go after CJ Stroud for the Houston Texans. I was right about that. I was right about Pop being too old to coach this team. I was right about a lot of different things involving the Spurs, involving the Cowboys. Remember, Joe, what did I say? 7-win team?
Well, I said I didn't even know they were going to be 7 wins.
7-win team? No, he meant 12-5. They're making playoffs. What did I say?
No.
This team is not making the playoffs.
No, I had said that too.
Right, but you and I were in the minority when it came to that.
A lot of the Cowboy fans were like, no, they're going to make it. They're going to make it. And like this team, we had said, what did we say? This team ain't it.
This team ain't it. But what ends up happening is that people look at you, blast you and all that stuff, blast me for all this. And at any point, do you think they come around and go, God, man, that dude Jimenez, he was right. They never do.
That's what Seth was saying.
Sochan shouldn't be point guard. Oh, no, Jimenez, he's going to learn these dribbling skills that's going to help him. You know what? He's going to get better at shooting the 3. And what's the most controversial take that I've had over the last 2 weeks, Joe? Wemby can't shoot.
Yeah. Oh, look, we got a $2 incoming super chat from Matt Lerma here. Appreciate you, Matt.
Appreciate it, my brother. Saying Spurs got to get a W tonight after the LA debacle. Spurs are up 40-14 at the end of the first quarter. And as Lerma says, that was a debacle. The Spurs blew a massive lead and then got run out of the gym down the stretch.
26-point lead, man, in the first.
Went bye-bye really fast. I don't see it, though. I think the Spurs are going to work tonight. I think the Spurs are going to lose by 18 tonight. Give the points if you're betting in Vegas, man. July 26th saying he had him at 35 points. Do we need to revise, Joe, the over-under for the number of wins that the Spurs are going to have this season? Because no Sochan for 2 months is a big deal. He's arguably the first or second best defender on this team. Some people say that it's Wemby because Wemby's 7'4" and gets 9 blocks like he did in the last game. I would argue man-to-man, just talent-wise, Sochan's probably the best defender in the league, on the Spurs team. Wemby is a great defender because he's 7'4", right? Hell, I'd be a pretty decent defender at 7'4", Joe. If you're taller than everybody else, you're gonna get some blocks. But when it comes to actually skill level on defense, that's Sochan. He can guard the 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now the Spurs, who we were saying are going to be on track for what, 34, 35 wins? Does that get revised downward?
I still think it's about 30, 35, 32
Joe,
wins.
It's 25.
No, 35,
Joe.
32, man.
Joe.
No, man.
Joe.
Not looking at you.
Joe.
Not looking at you.
Joe.
No.
Joe.
No.
Look at me.
No.
I'm the captain now, Joe. Look at me.
No.
Look at me.
No.
Look at me.
You say
Look at me.
20. You know
Look
what?
at me.
Let's write it down. This is the time.
25.
All right. This is the day and time that we're going to write
25.
down right
And I hope it's not that way because I want Mitch Johnson to do well because
10,
I don't want the Spurs to like give up on
29,
Mitch Johnson.
11, 6, 24. Mike says how many?
25 wins.
25.
And don't you be revising this by saying Jimenez had 18 wins.
No.
25.
We have it on tape. We have it on tape right now.
25. Here's another hot take, Joe. Wemby will not hit 30% from 3 this year. He's not going to hit 30. He's going to have a lower. Chris Gonzalez is out and says 32 wins.
Wemby,
Sith is trying to place a bet with me. He says $100. We get more than 25 wins.
30% field goal shooting, right? That's what you had with Wemby?
Yeah, he'll be around 30%.
30%. Okay.
He's at 22 right now. Garrett coming in from the Netherlands saying that the Spurs are going to go for 40. They're going to go for 40. They ain't going to get 40. I'm sorry. You take Sochan out of that was a bad team to begin with. You take Sochan out. Again, Spurs fans were excited because we were 3-3, right? We were 3-3, looking at a potential 4-3 record. That was not a 500 team, Joe. You take Sochan out, it just becomes a worse team.
I think that's something I have to work on in the weekend. Little flying chunkla that comes across the screen when they say you're flip-flopping.
Dude, it's evolution, baby. It's evolution.
The chunkla.
Yeah, so I'm looking at I'm trying to see if they've updated the number of wins that each team is going to have, right? Yeah. It has to have been downgraded, right? You can still bet on this. You can still bet on the Spurs being under 35.5.
Did you see
no
something
Sochan for 2 months?
Yeah.
Dude, I'd bet the farm that the Spurs don't get 35 wins.
Did you see what happened too? Yesterday night, during the elections and whatnot. It's official now that 39 states here, it's illegal now. I'm not legal, but legal to place your sports bets now. And unfortunately, Texas is still not one of them, man.
Ooh, look at this, Joe. Look at this. I'm on FanDuel right now.
No, what did they say? Let's show the screen.
You can bet the Spurs under 35.5 wins, right? But you're going to get odds of -128. You know what that means, Joe? That means everybody's betting the under right now. That means all the smart money has gone to the under. You're actually getting positive odds of +104 of the Spurs winning 36 or more. This is waving the white flag. This is a casino, a sports book going, waving the white flag going, we ain't going to give you decent odds on this. So what that basically means, Joe, normally on a bet like this, you bet $100, you win 95. Here, in order to win $100, you got to bet 128. You have to give the casino the sports book odds because they're not going to remove the number. They're just going to lower the odds. So this is Vegas's way, a sports book's way of saying, you do realize, Spurs fans, this team ain't going to win a lot of games. And the Spurs fans are now like that singer Dido back in the day in the 2005 era. I will go down with this ship.
It's what, 30, 32 games is what you're saying?
25.
No, man, not that low.
25, dude.
Oh, hold on.
Book it. 25 wins, man. 25 wins. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. We go for Cooper Flag at this point, right? Spurs fans are going to get super excited right now. Again, the Spurs were 3-3 after 6 games last year, too. In fact, they were 3-2 at one point.
All right. We got Jeff coming out.
All right,
he's coming in hot, dude.
We need his intro.
All right. Let me get that ready. But he's coming in hot, so he's only going to got about maybe 10 minutes or less.
10 minutes a lot. All right, so yeah. we'll get right down to the nitty gritty, baby.
Yep, we're going to get down to it quick because he ain't got time to
He ain't
playing around.
To BS, baby.
Not today. Not today. All right. So here he is. Bringing him on now. And what did you want?
Oh, we got to hear the Moneybag song, dude.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money,
Dollar bills, y'all. Moneybag. Jeff
There you
Garcia
go,
from
Jeff.
Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5. You can follow him on Twitter and on Threads at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Don't forget to subscribe to him on Spotify, YouTube, all those places for Locked On Spurs. Jeff Garcia, how you doing, my man? Oh wait,
hold on.
one second. We gotta plug that in.
All right.
All right. How you doing, Jeff?
You there, Jeff?
We have
can't hear.
some technical issues coming on right here.
Hold on. Hold on,
Let's
Jeff.
do one more time. One
Hold
more
on,
time.
hold on.
Otra vez. One more time. Otra vez.
There. Now see if you can hear us, Jeff. No,
Okay,
it
so
seems
we'll-
like this thing is going. Hold on, Jeff. Let me switch.
We're gonna get this going a little bit more
Hold
on
on.
our YouTube stream right now. Midtown Texas saying Gamblers Roundtable hosted by MJ. Got some money bag emojis coming in from July 26th.
There, Jeff. Is that better?
Drew Show coming out and saying Cooper Flag has yet to play a game of organized
Jeff.
D1 college ball, but yeah, let's tank for him. You got to tank for somebody, though, right? Because right now, if you take a look at the players that are available in the draft, remember we talked about the fact that last year's draft, the 2024 draft, was a bad draft. There wasn't going to be any superstars coming out of it. Maybe some good players. Maybe Stephon Castle turns into be a good player. We're talking about the Rockets tonight. Spurs play the Rockets tonight at the Toyota Center there in Houston. Chances are we're not going to see Reed Shepherd. Reed Shepherd was drafted
All right, Jeff.
number
see if you can hear
number
me.
3 overall above.
Hello.
There you go.
There he is.
So,
There we go. Yeah.
So Reed
What
Shepherd.
I missed.
So well, real fast, I'll make a point about Reed Shepherd. Reed Shepherd. This is how bad the draft was this year. Reed Shepherd drafted what, number 3 overall? Might not even sniff the court today. That's how bad the draft was this past year. So that being said, we have Jeff Garcia Moneybags from Ken's 5 at Jeff G Spurs Zone on Twitter and Threads. I don't know if you've been listening to the show at all today, Jeff.
I have.
But minus the sports books are looking at the Spurs and that 35 win total going, you do realize it's going to be the under. I'm saying the Spurs are going to win just 25 games this year at my off base.
I'm going to go still with that 35-ish mark. I think they'll still get it.
With Sochan out 2 weeks?
Yep. You got Devin Vassell coming back. You got Trey Jones coming back. You see a spike in minutes likely for Castle. So although the defense took a hit, but your offense is going to get a boost,
Look at
especially with
this,
Devin Vassell coming back.
Jeff. We got another $4.99 super chat incoming here from Tony Ornelas, and he says, "Put it on the board, Jeff. Remember this moment." Mike says 25 Spurs. The Spurs are going to win 25 games. Seriously, get a board for the show. I say 39 to 40 wins. I still think they're on track from anywhere from about 32 to 35 wins.
Joe.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joe.
Yeah. So you say we're going to get Trey Jones back? Not excited.
And Devin
Vassell.
and an increase in minutes likely for Castle.
Devin Vassell is a good, solid NBA player. Trey Jones is a backup. He's a backup.
Okay, fine, but he's still a positive impact.
He can't play
Is
defense.
that
He plays no defense.
He helps run the
Oh,
offense.
He's all right. He's a dude. He's just a guy. He's just a guy.
Mike's digging his own grave at this point, Jeff.
Dude, no.
Mike's finding any angle to bag on San Antonio right now.
Yeah, he hates San Antonio.
So what are the Spurs gonna do? Who do you expect the Spurs? I know the Spurs aren't gonna release the starting 5 probably until game time, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna see Keldon. We're gonna see Stephon Castle, because when Sochan was out, got hurt in the second quarter of the game the other night, Castle came out and started the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're going to see Stephon Castle start his first game? Would you be surprised if he starts his first game in the NBA tonight?
No, wouldn't be surprised. Look, the Spurs took a hit on defense, so bring in one of your better defenders. It just makes sense. And a guy who's going to create some offense as well as getting to the paint. Seriously, I asked this the other day. Is he a rookie? Are we sure? Have we done a test on him to make sure he's a rookie?
Why are you so excited by him?
No, man, I think the increase in minutes is only going to do wonders for him. Get more acclimated to the game, to the NBA, to the Spurs, to his teammates. He's he is close for me to say he's plug and play.
Mm-hmm.
He seriously is. And overall, I just like his aggressiveness to the rim. I like how he conducts himself, the poise on the court. He can hit a and one on a 4-point play, and he'll walk away like nothing happened. I love that even keel approach he brings.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is going to be great for him.
Stephon Castle, right, by the way, his stats. It's weird watching him play because he reminds me so much of Jeremy Sochan in the sense that you see that they belong.
Yeah.
But that the stats are kind of deceiving in a bad way. I love Stephon Castle. I think he's an excellent player. I want him to do so well. Like I got his jersey, for crying out loud, the second they signed him, right?
Yeah.
But you look at his stats. He's averaging 6 points per game, which I'm fine with. Almost 3 rebounds, couple of assists. Shooting wise, we knew that he wasn't that great of a shooter coming on in, but we saw that the form looked okay. But shooting 31% from the field, which is bad, and shooting just 12.5% from 3, which is awful. Even the free throws are at 58%. He's got to do something to show that he has some sort of offensive game. What I like about Castle is that I don't see him being hesitant. I just don't see the shots going in. But that's
going to give it time.
Yeah.
Just give it time.
I'm not giving up yet. I'm not selling the stock yet.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll buy more stock because I see him looking more like an NBA player. He doesn't look intimidated out there.
No, he looks very poised.
Not at all. He told me to start the season. I spoke to him earlier in the season, and I was shocked when he told me that the game's already slowing down for him.
Yeah.
After preseason, I was like, "What?" And my face in the media room was like, "Are you sure? Did I just hear you say what I thought you just said?"
Yeah.
But look, he's going to hit his rookie wall. It's going to happen. They all go through it. Who knows? Maybe Wemby hit his sophomore slump early in the season. He's broken out of it. These things just happen. So, the grind of the NBA season will hit him. And just like it hit Wemby, it's hit every rookie, that came before him. So exercise patience. But there's a lot more upside with the increase in minutes. Like, you don't want to see Sochan go down. Seriously, he was having a breakout season. I had said if he kept this up towards the middle of the season, he had to be in the MIP discussion. He had to be.
Hey, Jeff, I was going to ask you a question too. We're talking hypotheticals here for, the, I guess, starting lineup for tonight's game against the Rockets. Do you really think that they're going to go ahead and maybe give the nod to Stephon Castle and insert him in the starting lineup?
Yeah.
Now that Sochan's out?
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to go that way. Yeah.
So
you still want Keldon off that bench.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to Mike. He brings balance to that second unit, so I think they're going to still stick with it.
So Jeff, we have Mitch Johnson on the bench, and a lot of Spurs fans aren't familiar with him. Mitch Johnson, 39 years old.
Young.
He played 4 years college ball at Stanford, so he played for a Power 5 team. Was in the G League for a while. Was an assistant coach for the Spurs, the Austin Spurs, from 2016 to 2019. Has been on the Spurs bench since 2019, so he's not new. 5 years with the Spurs right now. This is his third time as the interim coach because he was first an interim coach back in 2021 for a brief period. So now we see him in charge of the team, and I'm not going to go into the whole speculation about what happened to Pop. When the Spurs make that announcement, they make the announcement. Local media, national media doing two different spins on it all.
Yeah, I know you're going to make a point right now. Can I just bother you real quick?
Yeah.
I'm lost in all that. Why is everybody saying this local versus national thing? What did I miss?
I think the thing that you miss is that I think the local media downplayed it as, he'll be back pretty soon. He just needs some rest.
I see.
Yeah, because Tom Mooresborn of the Express News, Don Harris of News 4 San Antonio were both like, he's fine. He's good. He just needs some rest. Whereas Sham Sharani of ESPN has been like, this is a serious health issue. And we're not going to speculate because I know that you have your sources. And
I do.
And I know that I have people that are kind of in the know as well. But I'm not going to speculate it. I mean, I have hearsay knowledge, which might be completely false because in law, hearsay doesn't hold up in court. So I'm not going to speculate. But the point I was going to try to make, though, was about Mitch Johnson. Do you think his coaching style deviates at all in any way from what Gregg Popovich was doing on the bench?
Well, you already saw a little bit of a difference in that first game when he's an interim head coach. Mamu got in early. Mamo got in very early. Hopefully that'll spread the floor. And if he keeps that up, I think that's a good move. Oh, I don't know. I think if the sample size is way too small, way too small. We got to see. I don't know how long Pop will be out, but let's just pretend he's out for a week, like a full solid week of NBA games. Like 7 straight NBA games. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of out, Jeff, one of the things that I was gonna ask you with Coach Pop's absence, which is big there for the team. Jeremy Sochan also missing time because of his fractured thumb now. He's going to have surgery. How do you think this is going to affect the team moving forward? And more importantly, I know that you just released an article here and you were talking with Dr. Ryan. So what's the typical recovery time for all this?
Yeah, Dr. Ryan McCorkle, for those who are not familiar with that name, he is our, on Locked On Spurs, we go to him for all things medical related to the Spurs, NBA in general. I texted him last night. I said, hey, I'm pretty sure you heard. What's the deal? And in his opinion, he believes that this will at minimum set him back, Sochan, 6 weeks. That does not include the rehab afterwards. That's just simply to recover from the surgery and in that cast and everything. He says he goes, the most optimistic outlook that he can give is 3 weeks. He goes, that's not uncommon, but I believe he probably tacked on an extra 3 weeks because the Spurs are going to spur. They're going to, all right, doctor said be back in 3 weeks. Well, you're going to be out for another 3 more weeks. So he's projecting that. So I'm going to have him on Locked On Spurs hopefully soon to break it all down more so about what's going to happen to Sochan. But just a brutal blow. I mean, the Spurs defense, I think that was not getting a lot of attention to start the season. I mean, they were locking people down. You hold the Wolves to barely a little over 100. The Wolves with Anthony Edwards. They were, the defensive rating was top 5. Their loose ball recoveries, they were top 5. Field goal percentage, they were opponent field goal percentage up there, top 10. And then that had a lot to do with Sochan. And now what's going to happen with Wemby. Wemby has the luxury of not having to defend multiple positions. Sochan took care of that for him. Wemby's going to have more defensive pressure. We remember how when Tim Duncan came in and there was Robinson to kind of hold his back. Hey, I'll handle the big boys of the NBA. Kind of similar situation with Wemby and Sochan. So I was like, don't worry about it. I'll handle the major defensive assignments. You just have fun out there and play the lanes and block some shots. So we'll see how that impacts him.
Talking to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs, Ken's 5. You can follow him at Jeff G Spurs Zone on Twitter and on Threads. I'm looking at the Spurs right now, and I know that you're as a Spurs fan, we're supposed to be optimistic, right?
Yeah.
And I was optimistic going into the Clippers game. In fact, the Spurs go into that game, we're 3-3. And I had made reference to the fact that the Spurs were 3-2 to start last season before losing 18 in a row. So I wasn't going to get excited about them locking down John Morant. I wasn't going to get excited about that because teams are not firing on all cylinders just yet. And in fact, what you typically see in the first 2 weeks of the season is you see the underdogs usually do well because the best teams aren't gelling just yet, right? Usually things kind of take shape, take form in January or so. So I wasn't going to be like, okay, the Spurs are back, baby. But they were 3-3. They were up 40-14. I had gotten my Fubo membership so that I could watch the game on Bally Sports.
Joe hasn't told you all the other websites?
Yeah, he's technically he talks to me about technology, and I glaze over a little bit because he's IT, and that's a deal for him. Yeah. I don't get any of it. I don't understand it. I'm a plug and play kind of guy. He knows all the ways around the world of Fire Stick this and broken this VPN and all that stuff and Big Brother's watching and all that stuff. And I agree with him and I believe everything that he says. It's just I don't get it, right? It's like if I was talking to somebody about insurances or investments, no one's gonna understand what the hell I'm saying. I'm like, just trust me. I trust Joe when it comes to all that. But the Spurs were 3-3, on the verge of going 4-3. And even though the Spurs kind of had given up half their lead in the second quarter, I put a tweet out there saying that I believe that the Spurs had Sochan out there, they would have won that game. And people were like, oh, you're flip-flopping, whatever, right? But I look at it now, Joe. I look at it now, Jeff, and I think to myself, the only player who for 7 games brought intensity into the floor for the opening tip every single game was Sochan. I might bitch and complain about how he can't shoot from 3, and I'm glad that he doesn't shoot very often from there anymore. I might bitch and complain about him handling the ball, all that stuff. I liked the way they were using him. But now I look at it and I'm going, well, if he was the only one bringing any fire to this team and he's gone, what's left? Like, who's the spiritual leader of this team?
Keldon, probably.
Keldon can't be. He's on the bench.
But he doesn't. What, he can't lead from the bench? He can't lead when he gets out there?
No, Patty Mills couldn't lead from the bench either. That's essentially what Keldon Johnson is. He's a scorer. Who in the starting 5? Is it going to, because I don't see it being CP3 because CP3 is old. I don't see it being Wemby because Wemby seems to defer a lot. I don't see it being Harrison Barnes because Harrison Barnes, as good of a player as he can be, he's not a raw kind of guy. I don't think Champagne's that guy yet, although I have been impressed with how he's been playing. And then whoever's being, it can't be Castle. And that's why I think the Spurs are going to go downward, is because I think they're rudderless right now. I don't think they have anybody to bring fire to the team because they don't have that personality. Sochan was that personality, and that's why I was starting to respect him.
I disagree. I think Keldon Johnson has fire. I think he says well about CP3 and his age. I think CP3 definitely has fire. I mean, we see that mix up with him and Brooks, that scrum between Sochan and Brooks. So, I think you're discounting some players, Jimenez.
Spurs are going to go on a massive losing streak, dude.
No, you heard it here first, Jeff. You heard it here first.
I think the Spurs are going to
massive losing streak.
They're going to beat Portland when they play Portland, right? I think they're going to beat Portland. So look at the Spurs schedule right now. I'm going to look at the Spurs schedule, and I'm going to say that the bottom's going to fall out of this team.
No.
No, Jimenez.
They're going to beat the Blazers tomorrow.
Jimenez was calling
on
for
a back
Team
to back.
Tank, man.
They're going to beat the Blazers. They got the Jazz. So they got 2 really crappy teams. So they might win one of those 2 games, or they might even win both of those games. Tomorrow's game against the Blazers and against the Jazz, right? So that's November 9, right? So they might be 3-4. Let's say that they're 5-5.
Yeah.
Right? After that, look at the Spurs schedule. They got the Jazz a lot. How many times are they playing the Jazz? I think the Spurs will lose 7 out of 10.
Nah, calm down, Jimenez.
Hey, but Jeff, the Spurs are going to be playing tonight. They're going to be playing the Rockets. You can see the game for those that want to know where you can watch the game, because that's the thing. Not a lot of fans get the skinny on where you can watch the games. So you can watch them on the FanDuel Sports app that used to be formerly Bally Sports Southwest. You can watch it on NBA League Pass as long as you're not within the San Antonio area, because it's blocked out. And you can watch it on AT&T Sportsnet Southwest, again, if you're outside of the blackout area. And of course, you can watch it on YouTube TV with the NBA League Pass. Doesn't come, just as a bundled deal. You got to buy the League Pass and, again, be outside the area in order to watch this. But if you're here local, you're only going to be able to watch it like on your Fubo's direct TV stream. If your local cable, I believe you can watch it on Spectrum, because they have the FanDuel Sports app there as well. So where you can watch them. That are the illegal sites, which we will not mention here.
Yes.
Hey, Jimenez, real fast. Side note, totally off topic here. Did you see how X now doesn't matter if you're blocked or not? You can still see people's profile. I mean, that's going to cause chaos.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So let's just say Joe blocked you, okay?
Yeah.
And for up until today, you could not see what he's talking about. Nothing. Starting today, you can go to his profile and read everything he's saying.
What's the whole point of having a block?
Well, according to the rules now, you can't interact with them. You can't react to it. Let's just say Joe put out there, "Oh, Jimenez, we're gonna cook him today." Like, you couldn't react to that, but it does not mean you cannot tag them though. So let's just say you saw that, you could be like, "Hey, Joe, I saw what you said about me behind the block."
Yeah, you know what's funny to me, Jeff? That
Mm-hmm.
nowadays the thing is to screenshot somebody else's comment or whatever that you didn't like from a person who blocked you, right? Before
Yeah.
they you couldn't see their profile. And they
Mhm.
would go ahead and retweet that, and they would put the screen capture, right? The screenshot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Oh, this guy's garbage, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Why don't you just add him?" You know, like if you're gonna
Well,
talk bad about somebody,
you can do that still, even though they get the block on you.
yeah, and exactly that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
why don't they at them instead of like, okay, you can now see the profile, so you could get the screenshot, you could add them, you could retweet whatever it was. You don't have to do
Yeah.
the screenshot per se no more. But why not just at them if you got a problem with them? And now that you can see, you know, people that you block can see your profile, I got no problem with it. I don't talk crap about
Yeah.
people on the X, and I'm just posting sports news or whatever else, you know, that I'd like. I mean, if people take issue with it, they take issue,
know.
but I don't really care.
People taking issue on Twitter is a funny thing, Joe. Did you hear that it's because you know, because of me, Pop got a health issue? I heard that on Twitter yesterday.
What?
Somebody
Are
got
you
mad at me.
serious?
Somebody got mad at me on Twitter
They blamed
saying
you.
they didn't say that they blamed me. I
Oh.
said something to the effect of, I hope Pop's okay, but blah 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 blah, right? I don't know what I posted. I said, I hope Pop's okay, blah blah blah. And then someone says, well, that's what you get for talking shit. The hell does that mean?
That's a stretch.
That is
stretch.
a complete stretch, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, so I noticed also, by the way, that Joel Embiid got himself in trouble.
Mhm.
Joel
man.
Embiid suspended 3 games for shoving a reporter. Jeff,
Yep, he did.
I gotta ask you a question because you've been in locker rooms for a long time.
Mhm.
You've talked to
Yeah.
a lot of players. Has anybody ever, and you have to say who they are, has anyone ever given you beef
Giving me beef.
or looked at you sideways?
I would say Draymond Green did one time. What else? Security for LeBron James did one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. I was in New York and I traveled to Boston for the Eastern Conference Finals, Boston and Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when Cleveland and James they clinched the Eastern Conference. So I'm in the locker room, the visitor locker room, and I see LeBron smoking a cigar. I think he was smoking. Well, a player was smoking a cigar. I don't remember who it was. And then everybody's huddled around him, but it's LeBron, so I'm kind of stuck in the back. I didn't get there early enough. And the trophy's right next to me, the Eastern Conference. I'm looking at it. I'm smiling. There's people I know, buddies with. We're laughing. Security thought I snuck in. They thought I was not. They thought I was, and they were like trying to escort me out until they saw the badge. So I had issues with that. What else? Not really beef with Draymond. It wasn't beef. It was just more. He looked at me sideways because, I don't know what happened. It's one of those nights where my brain wasn't working, and I kept on instead of saying Stephen Curry's name, I was saying Stephon Curry. I don't know why I was saying Stephon.
Mm-hmm.
And Draymond kept on saying, "Who?" I said, Stephon Curry. He kept saying, "Who?" I go, "Your teammate, Stephon Curry." And then he looked at me sideways, and he was like, "Are you sure about this? His name?" And I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know why I was saying Stephon. I don't know why I was saying. Maybe I had a premonition that Stephon Castle would come to the Spurs one day." But so again, it wasn't like a sideways thing. It was just more like, hey, you sure, correcting me, thing. Let me think. Rajon Rondo one time, kind of snapped. He had a snap, but we were in MSG and he was with Team USA and Team USA was practicing. And I had been warned from Boston media. He was with Boston at the time, like, "Hey, be careful when you talk to Rajon, because he could be kind of grumpy, kind of snap back at you." Well, I must have caught him on a good minute because I was the first one to ask him a question, and he was very interactive, very nice. In my head, I'm thinking like, what's all this saying? Like he's cool. There's nothing wrong with him. And then I did a follow-up question, and that's where the Rondo came out, and he kind of snapped at me, kind of stupid question is that, so that was cool. That was not cool.
No,
but
people are bringing up.
I'm kind of going through memory lane. I remember one time, twice. The two moments, kind of cool moments I had was one in New York City, again, Team USA, sitting with Derrick Rose on the sidelines at their practice gym. and he's just showing me all his sneakers that he has in his duffel bag. And it's all we're talking about, sneakers. No interview, no, this is for an article. Just him and I just chilling out. And then I remember interviewing Kevin Love at TV USA, and then all I remember is hearing sneakers squeaking, like squeak squeaking across the court. But it's getting louder coming towards me. And apparently I was lined up with a lot of cones that the players use to practice their dribbling. And it was Russell Westbrook. He didn't body me, but he kind of leaned his body into me and spun off me and to continue his cone practice. I had no idea I was in the path. But he just saw me as a cone and he moved around me.
It's funny, Jeff. I'm going back in time. I think the only professional athletes that got mad at me were Spurs.
No. Look at Midtown Texas's comment.
Ask Jeff if anyone has ever thrown a phone at him, like Greg Simmons throwing a phone at me back in the day.
You were an intern.
Yeah, I was a producer at the time. When Greg Simmons, when I was a producer at his with him, he's produced one of his shows. I was also an intern at one point, but then I was also a producer. He threw a phone at me. And it wasn't.
Why did he throw a phone at you?
Oh, we would get into heated fights at that station, back in the day. It was very much like Anchorman.
Yeah.
And he threw one of those phones. It's those big 1 foot by 1 foot phones where you have to like get your like two middle fingers from the back and lift it up. It had the cord attached to it. He threw one of those at me, so he had to disconnect it to throw it at me. But that was funny, man. That was funny. I'm thinking.
I always wondered like why these anchors, like the way in this case of Simmons, like those guys head of the department, get so angry. Because I've heard other stories of other anchors in San Antonio like get to that level. I mean, over what? Like, what are you not crying about?
Okay, first of all, there is a back in the day, back in the 90s, early 2000s, being on TV was a big deal. Don't be wrong. We if Steve Spriester walked into HEB, Steve Spriester from KSAT cannot go to HEB and not get recognized, right? Greg Simmons can't go anywhere in San Antonio without being recognized. But back in the day, it was elevated even higher, right? I was a TV news reporter for 8 years, and there's a certain intensity to the deadline. If you're a print journalist and you miss your deadline, no one's gonna know that you missed your deadline.
Yeah,
just you and your boss. If you're on sports talk radio and you mess up, you just cover the mic for a couple of minutes and then you just keep talking. Like I would mess up on the radio every once in a while. I'd misread a commercial or I'd misread. It happens, right? And you just move on. When you're on TV and things are melting down because certain tapes aren't in or certain video is not there, they punched the wrong video, whatever, you're on an island by yourself and everyone's watching the meltdown and they're blaming you, even if you had nothing to do with it. So there's a certain type of stress level that those on TV have. And it's better now because I think they have a lot more technology to kind of, I'll give you an example. I remember back in the day when you had linear tapes and you would record the video and they would have me as a designated runner because I was skinny back then. I would run from the editing booth to the control room, which is probably about, 50 yards. And I would run to the newsroom, coming through with the tape. And I'd run to the control room and I'd throw it to the guy in the control room, or I'd put it in myself, hit play, and Greg Simmons would start talking over the video. There's a certain stress level that comes in TV news that back in the day wasn't there. But I'm thinking about like athletes that I pissed off over the years. I remember pissing off Duncan when he was a rookie. Tim Duncan when he was a rookie. It was either a first-year player or a second-year player. I pissed him off after a game one time, and I didn't make him angry. He just kind of like gave me the stink eye because I asked him a question one time and he didn't like it. They were playing the Jazz. I think they were playing the Jazz in a playoff game, and Duncan missed a free throw to tie the game. It would have sent it to overtime. That's the recollection I have in my head. I could be wrong, but I think it was against the Jazz. He missed a free throw, and I was talking to him about it. And I asked him, I said, hey, you're a young player. Was it nerves? Is it nerves that get in the way of that? Because, you're a rookie. And he did not want to hear it. And he didn't yell at me, but he gave me a look of like, go F yourself type of thing. He didn't yell at me or anything like that. The one person who did yell at me one time was Doc Rivers, but Doc Rivers did it as a joke. I don't know if I ever told you about that, Jeff. Was in the Spurs locker room at the Alamo Dome, and he sees me in the locker room, and they're asking him a question, and Doc Rivers went for about 10 seconds to yell at me and just went off on me. And he goes, "Now ask your question." And I was like, and then I asked him my question, and he smiled. I'll never forget Doc Rivers is smiling at me, going, "What's your name, man?" I'm like, "I'm Michael." And he goes, "How old are you?" And I was like, "Man, I'm like 19 or whatever I was at the time, 18 or 19. And he goes, Doc Rivers goes, "Dude, I'm just letting you know, it'll never get worse than what I gave you right there. Welcome to the NBA. You know, whatever. Just ask your question." And he was a very, very nice guy to me after that. But he did it to kind of like haze me. Is basically a 10-second hazing.
Yeah, Jeff, I know that we're coming to the end of our time with you because we've kind of gone over here, and I know you're busy.
Wait. Midtown Texas says that Tim Duncan almost left to Orlando because of me.
That's the quote of the day. That's the quote of the day.
That's a good one. That is a good
Jeff,
one.
we're gonna have to put that on the X.
Jeff, before we let you go, what is your prediction for tonight's game? Because the spread, I believe, is 8.
Yep.
Are you think the Spurs are going to win or come within 8 points, or do you think the Spurs are going to 6.5 point spread? Do you think they're going to get within the 6.5 point spread or win? What do you think?
I think they're going to cover it. I bring that up because Houston and the Spurs, 6 of the last 8 games these two teams faced off have been decided at least by 8 points. So they've been close. They've been close.
Joe, go on record. Go on record. What do you got tonight?
I got the Spurs
to win. I got the Rockets winning by 18.
No, man, I got the Spurs.
Rockets win by 18 tonight. They're gonna roll. It's gonna be like a Japanese restaurant with a sushi, man. It's gonna be a roll. They're gonna be rolled out of the gym. They'll lose by 18 tonight.
Damn, man.
That is Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Kens 5. Don't forget to subscribe. Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Where else can we find you, Jeff?
Locked On.
Yeah, exactly. Joe said Locked On YouTube. Go subscribe. Check out the new look Locked On Spurs. Not happy about it, but anyway,
I missed the nerd wall.
I missed the nerd wall too. Yeah, I miss it. It had a few people, Joe, that came on before it went down.
Yeah,
saying like it was like almost like its own character. It was like its own thing. Like it had a little more. There was some charm to it. Now it's technology based. I feel like Drago, who's training in the technology room instead of outside in the woods like Rocky.
Jeff Garcia has 5,470 subscribers on Locked On Spurs. I remember just like, I don't know, 3 months ago, it was at 4,500. Dude, you're killing it, dude.
Thank you, brother.
Ask for a raise, baby. You deserve it. That's Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Kens.
Talk to y'all later. Y'all be good.
Yep.
Very nice. Very nice. Jeff is a good guy, dude. Does a fantastic job. He was talking about briefly about Joel Embiid. Now, people were mentioning, I know Sith was reaching out to us saying that, the columnist that Joel Embiid pushed had referenced the son who had passed away, and I believe like another family member, brother who had passed away of Joel Embiid in a recent column. And the question is should he have done that? And the answer is probably not.
Shouldn't have, but again, too,
you don't push. Should
reporters be saying things like that as well?
No, I mean I get that. I get that, but the question is, that doesn't give Joel Embiid, who towers over 99.9999% of the world, the right to push anybody.
Yeah, but again, too, I respect where he's coming from because just like on the X, social media, and all that, people can say what they want to about me, but if you start bringing my kids, the wife, something like that into that, we're going to take issue.
I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the columnist was probably wrong.
Yeah.
But you take a look at the standings right now. Philadelphia, who's believed to be a team that could go after a Eastern Conference championship, right? Go to the NBA Finals. They're 1-5 right now. I know Jimmy Butler's been hurt. Embiid has missed some time. He's gonna miss 3 games down. He lost $1 million because of that shove. $1 million that he'll never get back. I know he makes a lot of money. You might go like, well, he makes more. That's fine. But that was $1 million shove. And it's interesting because I don't know the dynamics of what he said because I know he mentioned it, but I got to read the article read the column to get more
The
context.
context of it.
But I'll give you an example that's local. I've been talking about Gregg Popovich, who's out indefinitely, right? Why is he still coaching in the league? Why is he still coaching the league? And the whispers are out there about it all. We all know the answer. We all know the answer. Is it tacky to say? Yes. But we know the answer. His spouse passed away years ago. And if she were alive, chances are he would have just gone into normal retirement. This is the love. This is the family that he has. He doesn't want to give it up. Didn't want to let go.
Yeah.
And I get it. But that's kind of like, no one wants to bring that up. And people do bring it up. I'm not like just the first person to say it. But but notice in my criticism of Pop, Jeff, and Joe rather, I never got into that. I kept it X's and O's. But that is, I mean, if we're calling it what it really is, that's the reason why he's still hanging on.
Yeah. This is a part that almost took Jeff out today, man. This little adapter here. And that's why I had an extra one in the drawer. Thank God that I always buy 2 of everything.
Nice.
In case something goes out, just plugged it back in and we got Jeff back on. But again, shout out to Jeff for donating his time today and coming out and talking Spurs. And, we always have a good time talking with Jeff. And I know he doesn't like that intro music, the money music, but the fans love it, dude.
Yeah.
I always tell him that.
Sith reaches out and says, mention my mama, you get the same treatment as Joel Embiid.
There you go.
Mario Cavazza says, Mike, if they talk shit about your kids, you will turn into Oyster Bake Mike.
What are you in oyster bake fights?
I want to know in oyster bake fights. Beat the crap out of that guy. It was literally a hold my beer moment because I was holding beer and whatever. Matt Laramore with the $2 super chat saying Pop stayed through a rebuild. We should thank him. There was no rebuild. We have not been rebuilt. I love you, Matt. You are a Pop stan. I get it. You don't build a team around a 75-year-old head coach. You don't.
That's what they've been doing, though.
You don't have an 83-year-old general manager of an NFL team.
Yeah, you say that, but I'm saying that the team has gone through that, though, man.
Well,
it's because if you take Pop out of the equation, it was Mitch Johnson.
Yeah, great.
You would say, okay, it's a rebuild.
It's a rebuild.
But because it was Coach Pop, it's
can't, because he's never done a rebuild.
Oh, my God.
How many rebuilds has Pop done his entire life? 0.
But every team goes through them, though.
Exactly. And we're 5 years into 5 years of losing records in a row. 6. This will be 6.
So it's not a rebuild.
It hasn't been rebuilt. If you won 22 games last year, 22 games the year before, 34 the year before that, and 33 the year before that, you haven't rebuilt. You're still at ground floor.
Look at Sith Elias. He's saying, on our show, I really am Mike Jr. I get mad heated over the same takes.
Chris Gonzalez, the Spurs are on paycheck to paycheck team.
Jeez,
Dude, you know what's so funny? We take a look right now, Joe. Who is the disgruntled star in the NBA right now? Who is the one player that reportedly wants out of his team and wants to start anew? This is.
I saw that, man. It's gonna be Giannis.
It's Giannis. The trade rumors are out. So,
do you hear the latest that they had going on with him and kind of linking him up to the Spurs?
Yeah, he's the Vegas has him as the 4th best odds to join the Spurs, right? But Giannis signed a deal, right? Giannis signed a 5-year, $228 million deal to stay with them, right?
Does he have a no trade clause?
He has I don't know if he has a no trade clause, but I'm looking at his contract right now. He makes $54 million a year. He's under contract not only this season, but next season and the year after that. Dude, why is it that when I think of Giannis, I think of Giannis as being a young man? Giannis is about to turn 30 next week, or next month, rather. So he's going to be with this team until 2027. He has a player option after the 2026-27 season. So he's got 2 more years after this one, Joe, in his contract. When you have a player like Giannis, who appears to be a good guy, appears to be a happy-go-lucky guy, who's an NBA champion, and he wants out, this goes to show that those contracts don't mean squat. Because if Giannis wants out, guess who gets out? Giannis gets out.
Yeah, you're gonna have to find another team that's gonna assume that contract as well.
Because what you don't want is a superstar who's disgruntled there and not putting forth any effort. And at some point, you got to get 50 cents on the dollar for him.
But you know what? Giannis comes as a package deal, though. If he's gonna want out, his brother's certainly not gonna stay with the Bucks because as soon as Giannis is gone, they're like, "You out of here, kid."
So, that's the thing. And I keep mentioning the fact that at some point, Tim Duncan wanted out of San Antonio.
That was your fault.
It was my fault, apparently. That was a great line, by the way. That was an amazing line, by the way. That was a great line.
Tim wanted to leave because of Mike.
So I look at it this way, Joe. Spurs got to do something because Wemby's not going to want to be around for the rebuild.
They got to put some quality players
all
around
the Spurs fans are like, but he loves Pop. You don't know if he does or not, but he likes the team he's got. You don't know that. I know that right now Wemby looks over at Chet Holmgren and goes, God, I wish I was.
Why can't that be?
Why can't that be me?
Three doors
down. 3 doors down. Why can't that be me? And he looks over at the Houston Rockets and thinks, God, if I was on that team with Dylan Brooks and Jabari Smith Jr. and all that stuff, man, we'd be a 55, 60 win team. But who's he hanging out with? Champagny, Zach Collins, Keldon Johnson,
Booty Crumbs,
Trey Jones.
Man.
Who's he hanging out with? 34-year-old Harrison Barnes, a 39-year-old Chris Paul, and we're gonna have the audacity to say that we're that Pop was helping us out of the rebuild.
He's gonna be crying like
help us out of anything.
Was that Cowboys wide receiver from back in the day? That's my quarterback.
Oh, T.O.
That's gonna be Wemby. That's my point guard.
If Spurs fans think that Wemby's gonna be here for 8 years and is gonna suffer through his entire rookie contract with a losing team, you're out of your damn mind.
Yeah.
And Spurs fans don't want to hear it, Joe. They don't want to hear it. And I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right. Go, I got it right. Wemby's gone. But the day that we get the rumblings that he wants out, it's going to be a day that Spurs fans are going to shit the bed.
Well,
and they're going to shit their pants, going to wet the bed, and they're going to look around and go, oh, maybe we should have been more adamant about
right now, the Spurs, they're playing better team defense. They are. You can see that, too, in the stat line. And you're looking at the standings. I think now they're up to like 3rd or 4th in the league and playing team defense. They've gotten a lot better compared to last year. But the problem is that they need to get better on offense, man. And they don't have bucket getters, man. They don't have people that can just do something simple as knock that ball down and put it in the basket. From beyond the arc, which is what you need in today's league. You need to have those consistent jump shooters. You have to have those consistent guys that can hit an open three. The Spurs miss a lot of uncontested open threes, and then the opposing team is knocking down these uncontested threes because the Spurs just can't get out and defend the wing.
That's
boom.
No lies detected on any of that. They have no one. They have no one to shoot.
They need bucket getters, man. They need people can shoot.
Wemby can't shoot. Castle having a hard time shooting from 3, and that's why you rely on a Champagny. That's why, Sochan couldn't shoot either from 3. The Spurs have a 1980s roster out there in the year 2024, along with Wemby. So if you have an 80s roster out there, then use Wemby like Ralph Sampson. Use Wemby like Kareem. Maybe he's not Kevin Durant. He might have cheered for Kevin Durant and might have won. Dude, you're 7'4". Go down low, catch the damn ball off the glass, be Duncan. Don't be Durant.
They don't want him to do that. They want him to play in the paint by not his back to the basket, but facing the basket straight up. And then the problem is that they're not getting him the ball in areas where he's comfortable getting a really nice shot open. Because what's happening is you've seen the scouting reports. The teams have seen the scouting reports, and what are they doing now?
Yeah,
they're taking away those spots on the floor that he likes to be at, putting in a smaller, more mobile defender on him, making it hard for him to get his shot up, can't make his way to the basket. They knock the ball away from him, frustrate him, they're getting him out of his comfort zone, and they're also getting him out of his rhythm. And
Right.
it's hard for him to get going. He's going to have to look at other ways to get his shots to make those points, and that's the thing that happens as you had your rookie season. Teams have the tape on you now,
Dude,
so they know how to scheme against
we're
you.
4 months away from something happening. We're 4 months away from the All-Star break. And Chet Holmgren is going to be an All-Star. And Wemby, as of now, I know we're 7 games in, doesn't deserve it.
Well, I think Wemby will play better. I'm just saying.
Wemby might, and what happens if Wemby gets voted in as an All-Star? Because again, it's a popularity contest for the starting 5. He is a superstar celebrity that doesn't match the performance on the court. I know he was 1 block away from a triple-double. Okay, yeah. But again, you got to play offense as well. Shooting 42% from the field, 22% from 3, averaging like 7 attempts from 3. Why? I don't understand.
Yeah, man.
Averaging 10 rebounds per game. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists and 4 blocks.
But look at what he's doing.
That's a good player.
Yeah.
But that's a good player, and that's interesting stat lines, especially with the blocks.
Here's the thing. Wemby's a good player on a bad team. And look at what's happening right now by Yahoo Sports. Total blocks this season. Wemby is up there in the top 4 in the league right now with 3.9.
Yeah, well, he's 3.9. Comparing that to other teams.
Yeah.
They're basically saying that he's getting more blocks per game than all these teams, right? And is that because of skill set, or is that simply because he's 7'4"?
He's 7'4", and the thing is that I believe that also has to attribute to his skill set because he can play
He
good
puts himself in
defense.
position.
He can play good defense, but the problem is he's just on a team that really hasn't figured out quite how to use him effectively yet. And the thing is
And
when
I
don't know if that's going to happen.
I have a
man.
hard time believing that other teams would have had a hard time. I have a hard
They would
time
have given him
believing
the basket. They would have lobbed. You know what? You're 7'4".
they
We
would
go throw it up
I think
there.
other teams would have coached him better.
Yeah.
I think other teams would have gotten better players around him. And I'm so tired of hearing the phrase Spurs core.
Yeah. They would have put Mamu out there with them.
They would have said who it I wish as much attention was given to Wemby that was given to Sochan. I almost feel like if you look at the way that the Spurs seem to be coaching up these players, like they give more attention to Sochan, who's out for 2 months now with a broken thumb, than they ever did with Wemby. It's like they focus so much on him when they should have been focusing on our quote unquote generational talent. And I'm not saying that they can't do both, but it just seems from the outside looking in, like what they were trying to do on the court was more about Sochan than it was about Wemby. Everything should be about Wemby. Whoever is the head coach of this team in the future, because by the way, FYI, if we've seen the last of Gregg Popovich, I will tell you this much. This is his last season. He ain't going to coach past this season. He ain't. Do I think he's going to come back onto the court at some point? Yeah, because like Cypress Hill sang back in the day, he ain't going to go out like that. He ain't going to go out like that.
Yeah.
You want him to come out there and you want him to coach his last few games and or try to finish the season or whatever the case may be. I want that, right? I don't as much as I don't want Pop to be the head coach of this team anymore. I don't want him to go out this way.
Yeah. At least have another game or so.
He needs to have a send-off. He needs to be cheered off the court. He needs to have his moment. And even if that's him coming back and do the last 2 or 3 months of the season, fine.
Yeah.
But I will bet anything that Pop ain't coming back next season.
Yeah.
Well, because you can't.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's pause real quick and give some love to MCS General Contracting, and then we'll come and give some love to Los, Locked On Spurs. MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business. Honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, Reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show.
And how hard is that concrete there, Joe?
It is diamond hard. And you know what? MCS General Contracting also powers the chat that you boys use every day. So make sure you give them a call at 210-774-9155.
Dude, it's already 11:25.
Yep,
Are you
it's
serious?
moving, dude. That's moving.
Dude.
We got to give love to the Los.
And we started the show at the time. Yeah, give me some love over here.
Yeah.
We have my number is 210-508-0369. Give me a call if you have any questions about your retirement accounts, or you have questions about insurances. I've been in business since 2005, or I've been licensed in 2005. I restarted my business back during COVID. I now manage over $17 million worth of investments. If you include all my insurance assets and whatnot, it's about $30 million. Love doing what I do. I do it in a t-shirt and shorts half the time, but then I get dressed up for the suit. If you have questions about your retirement accounts, 210-508-0369, you can roll over to me. I can take over IRA accounts, annuities, sell you a life insurance policy, disability, whatever you need. If you have a small business and want to provide benefits to your company, I can do that as well. 210-508-0369. And yeah, we can talk sports while you meet with me.
Yep. So let's also give some love to Locked On Spurs. Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on Threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow, not only on Threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@Locked On Spurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
That's right. Thank you to Jeff Garcia for being on the show. By the way, the Washington Commanders just got stronger, Joe.
Jeez.
We talked about the fact that the Lions got a Pro Bowler to shore up their defensive line because they have Aiden Hutchinson's injury. The Commanders made a trade for multiple Pro Bowler Marshawn Lattimore of the Saints. The Saints right now are in tank mode right now. I thought it was a pretty good haul because a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, is an Atlanta Falcons fan. He got pissed because he thinks his Falcons might make a run. Kirk Cousins looking really good out there. As a Saints fan, I look at this trade. I think to myself, I'm sad to see a fan favorite go, but the haul that the Saints got for him, not bad, not bad. The Saints got a third, fourth, and a 6th round pick.
Okay.
I mean,
It's all right.
it's all right.
It wasn't that stupid debacle with the Cowboys and that dumb trade they did the other day.
Think about that. Okay, let's talk about that. The Saints got a 3rd, 4th, and a 6th rounder for a Pro Bowler. The Cowboys gave up a 4th rounder for a bust from last year's draft.
Yeah.
Who was taken in the 2nd round.
They got fleeced, man.
They did.
One thing I was going to talk about here as we start, kind of bringing the show to an end is this right here. Chances to make the college football playoff.
Oh, well, let's take a look here. It says, this is according to...
Oh, let me go and show you the source. College Football Report.
Okay.
So they're putting this up there, and it says, it's funny to me, the locks, Oregon Ducks, Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Great chance. Georgia, you got UT, Ohio State.
Indiana. Boise State, BYU.
Boise, yeah.
Notre Dame, Penn State. A good chance. The Ponies from SMU, Tennessee Volunteers, control their own destiny. A&M, Pitt, Army, Iowa State, LSU and Alabama. LSU and Alabama play this weekend against each other. Unlikely, they say, Clemson, Colorado, K-State, Washington State, Ole Miss, and the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. And then they say it's over for Memphis and for teams like
UNLV, Memphis.
So it's the top 12, right?
Yeah, and we also have
scroll down real fast. Sure. The football playoff. Okay, so there's 12 teams. That means if there's 2 locks, and then there is 8 great chance 2 good chance. So that's 12 right there. So basically, they're saying that we're down to about 18 teams.
Yeah.
For the last 12 spots. You're going to go through a bracket is what you were doing. Is that what you're showing me?
So this is what they were showing earlier on TV. So this is the first bracket that they've actually shown.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it says, according to ESPN's the All-State College Football Playoff Predictor, the projected bracket right now has 4 teams having buys, right?
Yep.
That's Oregon, BYU,
Miami,
and what's the red team? Georgia. Okay, so Miami, Georgia, BYU, and Oregon getting the bias, but this is great, Joe. They have Boise State taking on Ohio State. I mean, you've got the Buckeyes who are not strangers to the playoffs, going up against Genty, the stud running back from Boise State. They would have Indiana, who's a surprise team coming out of the Big Ten, taking on Tennessee, who's a surprise team coming out of the SEC.
Very good team, yeah.
Bama against Texas.
I like this one, dude.
And you know what? And if LSU beats Bama, it'd be LSU, Texas.
Yeah.
And then they have Notre Dame against Penn State, 2 of the old school blue bloods when it comes to it all. So then you'd have an Elite 8 of, say, BYU taking on, I don't know, maybe Ohio State.
Yeah, it's going to be the winner at this point between
Oregon against Tennessee. You'd have maybe Texas against Miami. You'd probably have Notre Dame going up against Georgia. Dude, I love this, dude. 12-team playoffs, legit.
This is a good bracket, man. And again, this isn't like they said it's set in stone. It's projected. And this is the first projected bracket that you've actually seen on TV, So I'm like, all right.
So week 10 of the NFL gets going tomorrow.
Yeah.
You've got the Cincinnati Bengals, who, by the way, quietly hanging around, Joe. They're hanging around. In fact, did you know that they're just 1 game outside of the playoffs? The Bengals, who were left for dead
early on in the season,
on the road, taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who are 6-3, who have lost 2 games because of drop passes. 2 of the 3 games they lost, drop passes. Bengals 3-1 on the road. They suck at home. They're 1-4 at home. 3-1 on the road. They're going to go on the road to take on the Ravens tomorrow night. That's going to be an interesting game.
Both teams need a win, man. I mean, the Ravens are behind the Steelers right now.
Yeah. Joe, I'll be doing the show on the road tomorrow. I'll be on. So we're still doing the show.
Yeah.
But I will be in the beautiful city of Conroe, Texas. I'm on my way to go see the Chica. It is her birthday. And I asked, do you want to see me on your birthday? And she goes, well, if you can. Which basically means,
my goodness,
you know what that means, right?
You better get your ass
over here, right? So I'm going to hit the road today. Going to go do that. This weekend, I'll probably be in Austin. I was offered tickets to go see UT take on Florida, so might go take a look at that. Very rare you come across some good seats, so I might take a look at that. But so tomorrow we'll do the show, but I'll be doing it on the road. I've got my computer and everything all
ready,
locked and loaded. Sam Sleeves reached out saying Saints stockpiling draft picks so much that Mike almost called them the Spurs. Yeah, they got apparently they have Brian Wright now as the GM over there. Hey, man, I saw on before we go, Joe, I was on watching Get Up this morning on ESPN. They have a hot take segment. And the hot take that they had on there that Mike Greenberg had, I want to get your take on it real fast before we go. Talk about the Cowboys. The Cowboy season's over, right? Greenberg posed the question, should the Cowboys consider trading Micah Parsons for a Herschel Walker type of deal? Because that, what could you get for Micah Parsons? Like, you obviously get a first rounder. And Micah Parsons is young. Even though he's injured this year, he was defensive player of the year back-to-back years. Young guy. This team is obviously going to be going through a rebuild. This team ain't getting better. They're going through a rebuild. If they offered the Cowboys 2 firsts and a 4th, would you do it?
You're the Cowboys, and you're seeing that your team is in dire straits right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they give you a good deal for Parsons, I think Cowboys got to go ahead and take that deal.
I wonder what his trade value is, though. I mean, it's minimum first rounder, right?
The problem with Parsons is that he gets hurt too.
Yeah.
Not always hurt, but he does get hurt.
Did you see Parsons last week do that podcast?
Oh man, that guy, dude. Tell you, man. Like, somebody take this dude's mic away, man.
They're talking about the top 5 quarterbacks. What I found funny about it all, though, was that when he was talking about the top 5 quarterbacks, who I think he had listed at 3, no one would list at 3. He had Jared Goff up there. He was like, man, I just like watching Jared Goff play. That's the funny thing about it is that we take a look at players like Josh Allen, take a look at players like Lamar Jackson, and they're flashy, they run the ball and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But really, who wins games more often than not? The pocket passer.
Purdy.
The Tom Brady's of the world. Mahomes is not a running quarterback. He's a quarterback who can run, but Mahomes ain't going out there and running the ball. When was the last time we had a running quarterback win a Super Bowl? Because I can't think of one.
Well, Cowboy fans said was the last time they saw Dak run. He ran, pulled his hamstring.
And now he's on injured reserve.
He's done.
Apparently, he's going to be going on injured reserve for 4 games.
Yeah.
But this was a fun show. Don't forget to subscribe to us. Hit the like button on the way out the door, by the way. And we will update our super chat goal and our subscriber numbers for the month. We are in November. UTSA basketball is up and running. Thank you for mentioning that. Sam Salinas, Carl Schoening, and Devin Brown doing the call. Very, very nice. Everyone have a fantastic day. I'm going to go hit the road. I'm going down I-10 on my way to Conroe to see Homegirl.
There you go.
We'll be back tomorrow.